Here's what my father wrote about his experiences in Hell House. I had never believed in ghosts or anything supernatural. While I had been told by many people that the house we were living in was haunted, involving many events that had no logical explanation, I suspected that everything anybody had witnessed had a non-supernatural cause. However, one sunny day, I was in the basement, and a door in the back opened to the yard. I went out this door to see the kids' swing set, but no kids. It was an almost windless day, but the swings, with heavy rubber seats, were swinging full tilt as though kids were actually sitting in them and swinging as high as they could go. After a brief pause, where I was trying to comprehend how this could be possible, I reasoned with myself that the kids must have just been in the swings and leaped out from a height before running up to the front yard. This seemed plausible, except, 1, my kids were not quite as brave as I was when I was a kid, and I'd never seen them jump from such a height. 2, the seats were so heavy that even if somebody had jumped from them, they would have quickly stopped swinging. 3, with the height these swings were rising, the kids wouldn't have had time to run all the way out of my sight. 4, and I later discovered that my kids were up the street playing with some neighbors at the time I saw the swings at full tilt. This event changed my entire perspective on the supernatural, and my lifelong denial of such was left shaken for months after that. While I am still dubious of almost everything I hear others say they have witnessed, claiming it to be supernatural, I have yet to explain what I saw that day behind a house that I am now convinced is either haunted or next to a very haunted place, namely, the deep woods to the east of the entire neighborhood. Thanks, Dad. Something you all need to understand about Hell House is it has this intense pull. And once it has you, it is so hard to get out. My parents didn't want to leave. My mom, that had been her home since she was 4 years old. Her mom had lived there. She was going through intense grief after her mother dying, and living in that house sent her over the edge. And my dad didn't believe in ghosts for a very long time until he just posted the story that made him a believer. But we were there for many years before he finally understood that we had been actually experiencing something real, like something supernatural that had no logical explanation. And so by that time, we couldn't move out. That was our home. Where else would we go? Yeah, there's definitely a pull there, where once you're settled in Hell House, it doesn't want to let go. And that's actually why I think so many people move out at the 1 year mark, because that's when it truly starts getting scary. There is about after a year, it gets its hooks in you, and a lot of people probably feel those hooks and run away. But since it had been in my family for so long, it's been attached to us literally since 1968. It is extremely hard for us to get away from Hell House. Even now, it's trying to pull us back just to go look at it and see it and breathe in its air. I can't think of any situation that would have made it so that they would have left that house, except for complete financial disaster, which is what ended up happening. The house went into foreclosure and sat empty with all of our stuff in it for like 3 years. Like, I could break into it and see all of our furniture and all of our toys and all of our stuff still just sitting there collecting dust. So that house is not going to let go of us anytime soon, and it certainly wasn't going to let go of us when we were there. I've gotten a lot of questions like this, and I guess there's a lot of new followers here, so I will do a little recap for you guys. I also pinned the first story of Hell House to the top of my account, so you can watch it if you want. But basically, Hell House is positioned in what used to be a vast forest land. And in that forest land was scattered a bunch of small graves, like graveyards. And they all were kind of interconnected and just all throughout the entire forest. And in the late 1950s, a building company came in and destroyed most of the graveyards except for two that were at the... You have to drive through them in order to get to Hell House. There's only two entrances and exits from the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is so huge that the only exit we ever used was to drive through those cemeteries. But they destroyed the cemeteries and leveled some of the forest. I mean, it's a huge forest. They couldn't have gotten all of it. And built the neighborhood there. And the Hell House itself was finished in 1966. And a young couple moved in and did not stay very long. They fled, very much like the Amityville Horror, where they left all their stuff behind. They didn't tell anybody why they left so suddenly or anything like that. And then the house went back up for sale, and my grandparents bought it in 1968 when my mother was 4 years old. And it was in our family ever since until 2009 when we lost it to foreclosure. And then after that, it sat empty, well, filled with our shit, with no one living in it, for 3 years. And ever since then, I've gone back every year, and someone different has been living in it every time. So that is the summarization of the life cycle of Hell House. So now that you basically understand the framework for the first year of Hell House and what it was like, I'd like to kind of imagine with you a singular day in Hell House from the first year. Typically, I'd wake up at about 6 in the morning to go to school, and I'd toddle into the bathroom, and the first experience I'd have of the day would be hearing the children playing in the bathroom while I was waking up. And also whatever nightmares I'd had the night before still stewing in my brain. Then we'd ship off to school, and I'd go to school for 8 hours, probably looking for ghosts there and drawing in my books, not wanting to be at school. Then we'd come home, and immediately we would see the man in the bowler hat waiting in the hallway for us to get home. I'd usually watch some cartoons on the TV and try to ignore the man in the bowler hat, and you'd also hear the kids in the tub during that time as well. That was usually when they were actually splashing around in the bathtub. And then it was dinner time, and I would take my dinner to my bedroom because that was whenever it started getting dark out. And typically I would have been playing outside after my cartoons, trying to stay out of the house. And when I came in for dinner, the house would be darker. No matter how much lights we turned on, the darkness would consume the house. Mom would be in the living room watching TV. Dad would be doing his own thing, either in the basement or his bedroom. John would be playing video games in his bedroom, and I would be in my bedroom either listening to music and watching TV. And during those times, I would see a lot of butt prints on my bed of Radio Ghost sitting on the bed with me watching the TV. So he became my dinner time TV buddy, and he kept the man in the bowler hat from coming into my bedroom at night. And then my parents would go to bed, and I would stay up until the red lights started glowing at around 1:20 in the morning, and once the red lights shut off, I would unplug all of my electronics and make sure that my clock was on so I could hear the ticking and not the ticking of the bedroom. And then I would go to sleep, and I would have nightmares. So that was the daily experience of the of Hell House from the first year that we lived there before it started getting worse. There's a show. No, this is the house I grew up in when I was a kid. I just call it Hell House so you guys don't know where it actually is. I didn't even know there was a show. I'll have to look into that. Is this show non-fictional? Is it just... no, it's not from anything except my life. Sorry, I didn't know there was a show called Hell House. My bad, I'm not changing the name now. Mine is Hell House 1968.
Let's talk about Hell House LLC, widely considered to be one of the most disturbing.
I didn't know that was a thing. My shit is not connected in any way to Hell House LLC. My stuff is Hell House 1968. I've never even seen that movie. Maybe I should. It looked fun, but yeah, that's not my stuff. Sorry. You know, I'd love to have more details too. Radio Ghost was kind of a conundrum. He didn't have a physical form, so you could never really see him. You could see him by the way that he affected the real world. Like, when he was around, lights would flicker, so you could tell when he walked in the room because the lights would flicker, and then I would see a butt print on the bed, or he would move stuff on my desk to let me know I was there. He was a very physical person, and I had bead curtains, and whenever I would see the man in the bowler hat out in the hallway, I would see those beads start to sway and feel this kind of energetic pulse come from Radio Ghost at my doorway, and the man in the bowler hat would kind of go backwards, kind of like poof away like fog, but then reappear further back. And there was many times that I would hear Radio Ghost just standing in my doorway, kind of shifting his feet back and forth as he stood there, so you could hear the while he just stood in my doorway. But anytime that man in the bowler hat got too close, I would just say, "Hey, Radio Ghost," and things would start moving around in my room. The lights would flicker, and my beads would shake, and then the man in the bowler hat would back off. And that's one of the main reasons, other than the way he felt. But I don't think Radio Ghost was an actual ghost. He had some sort of authority in the house. So I just called him Radio Ghost because I didn't understand demons at the time. But I'm pretty sure Radio Ghost was a demon, and I don't really know how or what he did to keep the man in the bowler hat out, or if Radio Ghost was actually scarier than the man in the bowler hat was in reality. But that's what I perceived whenever Radio Ghost was stopping the man in the bowler hat from coming into my room. So I was cleaning out some boxes of things that I haven't looked in years, and I found an old notebook from college that has some pieces in it written about Hell House from just a few years after we moved out. And there's a few things in there that I thought might be kind of juicy, so I'm going to read some passages for you. There were many individual spirits of Hell House that I got to know over time. At first it confused me why there were ghosts in a house with no deaths. I have come to learn that most spirits of the house were inhuman in some manner. Some kind, some not so much. The first of these spirits that I met, I lovingly named Radio Ghost. Radio Ghost was a poltergeist who enjoyed making his presence known by turning on electrical devices. At first he haunted my mom, and later me. The first time I was aware of him was a night in 2003. It was a school night in spring. For my birthday, my parents got me a nice stereo. Just as I fell asleep, it turned on full blast. Scared the shit out of me. Had to always keep any noise-making electrical devices unplugged at night in my room. Radio Ghost had a very specific vibration. He felt playful in a way. I noticed when I felt sad or sick, there would always be a butt print on the bed like someone was sitting next to me. I once asked him to stand if he was Radio Ghost. The print lifted. Radio Ghost ended up being my friend. Through the whole time I lived there, he helped me in keeping my room a safe space from other less kind spirits of the house. I allowed him to view the room as his in the spiritual plane while sharing physical space with me, in turn for him keeping the others out. In 2009, when we lost the house, I had a tearful goodbye, with Radio Ghost that ended with my phone randomly playing a song. I can't remember what song it was, but it was a sappy love song about two lovers parting. I cried super hard. Radio Ghost never stepped out of the house. I never felt his vibrations anywhere but inside, so I sadly feel he is a friend of the past. I would love the chance, however, to visit him again. So, there's a little bit more details about our friend Radio Ghost. Okay, we've hit the point where the Hell House stories are going to start getting scarier, so we got Steve here to keep us safe. Make sure you're taking care of your personal protection, because Hell House ain't playing around. But after we moved in and got all settled and everything, and we started getting used to the daily hauntings inside the house, I started inviting my friend and sister, Parksy Princess, over, aka Cat. And we liked to play in the woods during the day because staying in Hell House was not fun. So the way that I went out into the woods was down past the dead end. I didn't like going in the woods behind our house, so I'd go out through the dead end, which was this big field. And in order to get through the field, you had to be really careful because the field was filled with snakes. But I'm not afraid of snakes. I think they're cute. So we'd get through the field, and in the center of the field, off to the side, was this large mound. And that's kind of the first safe place. We'd stop there and eat our snacks and take our drinks to continue through the snake field. And then once we got through the snake field, we'd hit the half pipe. Now, the half pipe you would see in my Return to Hell House videos. You won't see the half pipe because it's overgrown, but that was where all the teenagers, whenever you hit 13, you were expected to take a flashlight and walk all the way through the half pipe from the field all the way underneath the neighborhood to the other entrance that you see in my Adventure to Hell House video. But I never went through the half pipe because the crawler was in there. Wasn't about to do that, and I was raised on Stephen King. I know what hides in storm drains. But that connected to a creek that was overlooked by several cliffs, and there was a beautiful trail that was like a deer trail that went from there up to the cliffs, and that was kind of like a 15-minute walk through the forest. I remember we had to climb over this really big fallen tree, and that was kind of like, once you hit the fallen tree, the forest started feeling different. I'm gonna need a part 2, give me just a sec. So once you hit that fallen tree, it started feeling much darker. It was a little bit harder to breathe. You started feeling like there was something watching you in the forest. But if you continued on for about 5 minutes after that fallen tree, you would hit a crossroads, a four-way stop, and that four-way stop was kind of down a hill. So if you were walking down the hill, you'd hit the crossroads, and you could go up a hill, and you could go deeper into the forest, or continue down the hill, and that kind of turned out of sight. And the cliff that I like to hang up was up this way. You'd hike up the hill, and there was a beautiful sitting area with a log that you could sit on. It was perfect for picnics. You could oversee this beautiful creek. I used to sit there and sing all the time. Yeah, it was really pretty, wasn't it, Steve? You never saw it, but you like this story. And me and my sister Kat would hang out there all the time. It was basically, if the sun was up, that was pretty much where you could find me, was up on that cliff. But being on that cliff was kind of like being in a safe bubble, while you could feel the forest below trying to push up and break your bubble. So every time I went there, I really had to, I would open and close with protection spells and circles, and made sure that I kept the area nice and clean and clear of debris, because it could get scary up there if you didn't keep up with it. But the first time that me and my sister went into the forest, we didn't know where the safe zones were, and when we hit that four-way stop, the crossroads, we continued going straight further down into the forest where it turned, and that place is not good. I'd like to go back just so I can show you guys how horribly terrifying that area is. But if you go down the hill, you reach a dead creek that has no water. It's just a old mossy creek bed filled with dead leaves, and all of the trees that line that area are completely dead. Even in the summer, there's no greenery in that area of the forest. And the sound in this creek bed was completely muffled. Like, you're walking through the forest and you hear regular old forest sounds like birds and water from the creek and all kinds of stuff, and you step down into this dead creek bed and it's suddenly muffled. Like, whew. Yeah, it is scary, Steve. It's really scary. The only thing you could hear in that creek bed were crow calls. And you could see crows up in the dead trees. And my sister, when we stepped into that creek bed the first time, she just broke down crying for no reason. Yeah, it's scary. We need to take a second, don't we? Take a second to breathe. Yeah, she broke down crying and just wanted to get out of the forest. She wanted out. So I grabbed her and we ran all the way home, and we got her set up with a nice drink on the porch. We didn't go into the house because Hell House is not a good place to go when you're freaking out. So we sat on the porch and talked about what the hell just happened. And then we told my mom what happened, and she said, "Oh, right, I forgot to warn you. My friends and I called that place the River Styx. Don't go there." And I pried her about it, and turns out whenever she was a kid and all of her friends would go and play in the woods, they had, every time they'd go into that dead creek bed, which was dead when she was a child too, in the 60s, someone would start crying and getting upset, or someone would become violent, and they would have to stop playing. And I only ever went into River Styx a couple of times, And I only ever went in there with someone else that first time with Kat, because I figured I wasn't going to allow anyone else to get hurt. If I was going to be poking around in River Styx, it would hurt me, and I wouldn't put any of my friends or my family in danger. But I became kind of obsessed with the River Styx. I'm still obsessed with the River Styx. I want to go back so bad, even though there's nothing good about it. There's not a single good feeling about it. There's nothing to gain from it. There's just dead animal corpses and rotting wood and crows there.